Hello and welcome back to the American University Physics Department Spreadsheet Video Tutorial Series. In this video tutorial, we're going to be discussing histograms and how to generate them in Microsoft Excel. So what is a histogram? A histogram is a visual representation of a distribution of data. The Wikipedia entry for histograms includes an example of mature black cherry tree height. So this is a population of 31 black cherry trees, and the height has been measured of each one of them and is given in a table. And a histogram is generated of this. And we can see from the histogram that there are 3 trees that fall between heights of 60 and 65 feet. There are 8 trees that fall between the heights of 70 and 75 feet, and we can continue to build up and infer things about this population of black cherry trees by visualizing this histogram. So each one of these ranges, these horizontal data ranges, are called a bin. So how we bin the data is very important, and we would like to be able to manipulate and change that. So that is one of the goals of this video, is to show you how to do that easily. For example, we can generate some data manually. Perhaps we have rolled a single dice, or a single die rather, a bunch of times, and we want to visualize the data in histogram. So there are 6 faces to a die, and I rolled this a bunch of times, and say I got 12 ones and 15 twos, maybe 13 threes, 12 fours, 11 fives, and 10 sixes. So I'll go ahead and label these columns. So this is number of pips. This is number of times rolled. I could generate a bar plot that would represent this. I'm going to go to Insert, the Insert ribbon, and then the column charts. I'm going to go to More Column Charts, and then select this one. And here we get a histogram of this data. So I rolled 1 12 times, 2 15 times, etc. So this is a very rough way of generating histograms. So note that it is not easy to change the bin size of this. If I wanted to, for example, count the number of times that both 1 or 2 were rolled, I could visualize that in a different way, but it might be a little bit complicated. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this and say equals number of times rolled. No. This plus this. And this cell is equal to the number of times I rolled 3 plus the number of times I rolled 4. And this cell is equal to the number of times I rolled 5 plus the number of times I rolled 6. So I've re-binned this way, and now the bin size is 2. So these represent 1 to 2, this represents 3 to 4, and this represents 5 to 6, and then I can plot that. So changing the bin size is not easy via just the column graphs. So to generate a real histogram in Excel, we first need to have the Data Analysis tool pack installed. To get that, we're going to go to File and Options, Add-ins. I'm going to Manage. Suppose we'll click Go. And you need to make sure that this checkbox is checked. So this is the Analysis tool pack checkbox. Click OK. And once you've done that, in the Data ribbon, a little Data Analysis button will pop up. So let's try and use this to generate a little bit more sophisticated histogram. I'm going to generate random data using an Excel function called randBetween. So this gives me a random number between a lower and upper bound. I'm going to choose 0 and 10. I'm going to generate a slew of data here. We'll go all the way down to, I don't know, 200 something. 256. Seems like a good number. So I want to try to display this data with various bin sizes. First off, we'll just generate it with the smallest bin size, which happens to be 1 in this case. We only have numbers 0 through 10, so I'll bin them in that manner. If you note too, every time I update the spreadsheet, it recalculates the random numbers, so that's why the numbers are changing in column A. So 0 to 10. So now I'm going to open up the fancy histogram function under the data analysis tool pack. Brings up this dialog box, and we've got an input range. We'll go ahead and select all 256 of these data. 256. Press enter. Got to go all the way back up. And our bin range, which we have defined, is going to be right here. And the output range will define a particular cell just so we can have all of this on the same spreadsheet. We want to enable the chart output because that is actually the histogram that we want to consider. And I think everything's okay, so we'll click OK. You can see we have generated a nice little histogram here. So it gives us the bins and the frequency with which each one of those bins occurs. So we had 23 instances of 0, 21 instances of 1, etc. And we have a relatively symmetric, otherwise known as uniform distribution. Okay, so let's do something even a little bit more complicated. Try and generate something that's not a uniform distribution. Maybe I can't Control Z out of that. I'm just going to delete this. Oh, first, actually, I wanted to change the bin size easily, right? So instead of using this most granular of bins, the one between each bin, maybe I want to consider how many times this occurs between 0 and 2. So I'll use the same little spreadsheet trick of highlighting 2 cells, grabbing this little handle, going down to 10. That just continues this pattern. And I'll use this for the bin range instead. We'll go back to data analysis, histogram. We have the same input range, but our bin ranges have changed to here. And the output range will also just change to say right here. Chart output is enabled, and here we go. So same data, different binnings. So we can see that any number between 0 and 1 has been encapsulated in this frequency. Any number between 2 and 3 inclusive is with this frequency. And again, we get a relatively uniform distribution. Although I think in this particular case, the other more granular bin size is better. Okay, so let's do something a little bit different and try to get something that's not necessarily uniform. Go no borders there. So instead of this ran between just 0 through 10, I'm going to add 2 random numbers between 0 and 10. So I'm just going to say plus rand between 0 and 10. And there we go. I'm going to drag this back down, generate all 256 of these again. So now I've got a number anywhere between 0 and 20. So the maximum this could be, of course, is 10 plus 10, and that would be 20. So our bin sizes are going to change a little bit. Let's continue this down to 20 and try regenerating this histogram. So we go back to data analysis, histogram. Our input range is the same. The bin range has changed. Enter. And our output range, we'll put that down here now. Well, how about right there? We've enabled chart output, and there we have it. So this looks a bit different. We have fewer instances of very low and very high numbers, and we have higher instances of numbers in the middle. I'll leave that to you to determine why. But again, let's change the bin size just so we can visualize this data in different ways. I'm going to delete that. Let's continue this pattern, binning every 2. Oh, look at those ugly borders. I'm going to have to get rid of those. Continue this down to 20. And generate our histogram once more. Histogram. The only thing that's changed are the bin ranges. We'll need to make sure that we have our output in an appropriate place. And here we go. So this is a different binning. And there we have it. This concludes this video tutorial on the generation of histograms in Microsoft Excel.